Hello students and welcome to RHAB 5734, which is Psychopathology and Clinical Rehabilitation Counseling. My name is Dr. Sharma and I will be your instructor for the course. Because many of you wanted this course to be offered online on campus, and we could not accommodate that because there are several of you who are online students and really wanted to take the course. I figured we will find the next best option, which is to provide recorded lectures for you guys for every week. So I'm going to start with the syllabus. You should have access to this in your Blackboard course now. You can see that my telephone number is listed there. It's 940-565-2795. Although I will say that telephone is not the best way to get a hold of me. The best way to get a hold of me is by emailing me at rachita.sharma@unt.edu. So without further ado, we're just going to dive right into the syllabus. This particular recording is going to focus on the syllabus so you guys can become familiar with the expectations in this course as well as the course assignments, which I know you guys are all very curious about. The required texts for this courses are Kilgus and Maxon and Ward's Essential Psychopathology and Its Treatment, which is a 2015 edition. Usually I'm perfectly all right with students getting an older edition of a book. However, this particular textbook will require you to purchase the most recent edition, which is the 4th edition, since the DSM underwent a whole revival in 2015. So you want to make sure you get the 4th edition, which has the updated DSM codes. The other book that you need is by Sinacola and Peter Strickland. It's a book that came out in 2011 called Basic Psychopharmacology for Counselors and Psychotherapists. This book is a fairly inexpensive book, but it is going to be a very good resource for you guys when it comes to learning about psychopharmacology to go with the different mental health disorders. So it's a good book to get, and it is another required book to get as well. And then I would like you to choose between getting a copy of the DSM-5. You can either get the actual desk reference, or you can get the bigger, larger, more comprehensive version of the DSM-5. Obviously, the larger one is more expensive than the desk reference, but both will provide you with the information that you will need to access for this particular course. With the DSM, I would suggest that everybody purchase their own so you guys can hang on to it for when you're practicing and need to make reference to it. So those are the 3 textbooks for this course, all of which you need to have. I understand that buying 3 textbooks is not a lot of fun, but for this particular course, these books are meant to be reference books which you can look back to even after you have graduated. As a matter of fact, I still have my textbooks from when I took psychopathology in my master's program, and I do make reference to it, except now I have an updated version of it. Okay, so without further ado, let's get into the course description. The purpose of the course is to provide the students with practical knowledge regarding the diagnostic system for psychopathological conditions as defined in the DSM-5. You'll also acquire a working knowledge of psychotropic medications commonly used in the treatment. So read through the rest of the course description so you can become familiar with what we will be addressing. The overall course objectives are to get you guys to develop a conceptual framework of psychopathology, to be able to demonstrate the ability to classify and conceptualize different psychopathologies using the DSM-5 codes. You will also build a relationship between diagnosis, treatment planning, and prognosis for major mental health disorders. And you're going to learn how to differentiate among the major classes of psychotropic medications used in the treatment. So getting that textbook, the Kilgus textbook, actually not the Kilgus, the Sinacola textbook is going to be extremely helpful in allowing that. We're going to talk a lot about the medical model and compare to the biopsychosocial model, especially when we're talking about assessment, diagnosis, and treatment of mental health disorders. And lastly, we're going to examine issues related to diversity on the diagnosis and treatment of mental health disorders. So, in a nutshell, those are our course objectives, but it is quite a tall order, guys. So, I would encourage you to brace yourself for this course because we have to cover a lot of information in a very short duration. So, it's a little bit of it is going to feel like drinking through a fire hose, not a fire hose, a water hose, right? That one. And so count on me for support and count on each other for support as well. I'll talk a little bit more about it as we go on. The next section of the syllabus talks about the KCREP standards. For those of you who are not familiar, our Rehab Counseling Master's Program was accredited by CORE, which was the Council on Rehab Education. And CORE decided last year to merge with KCREP, which is the larger accreditation body that accredits all counseling programs. And so we have switched from core accredited standards to KCREP accredited standards, much like all other clinical counseling programs out there. I've put my teaching philosophy in the next section. And so essentially, I would hope that I can do my part to maximize your learning by organizing each class or each weekly module well, so that you on your end are able to engage in completing your weekly readings consistently, completing your assignments on time and submitting them, checking Blackboard for course information regularly. I use course announcements a lot to convey important course-related information. And lastly, as a student, I expect you to use your UNT email for communicating with me outside of the classroom, outside of the course setting. When you send me an email, please use proper email etiquette. I usually respond within 24 hours. However, I do request that you provide me with at least 48 hours, especially on the weekends. If you do not hear from me within this time frame, please send me a reminder email. Usually, I'm very good with emails. However, sometimes other things take precedence, and I may not be able to reply back to you within a 24-hour period. However, please just wait 48 hours and then email me again, unless it is a time-sensitive question, in which case you can certainly email me more than once during that period. In terms of the course itself, if you've had a chance to look ahead at it, you'll find that much like all of your other UNT Blackboard courses, the course itself is divided into weekly folders, and each folder contains the PowerPoint lectures, the assignment submission links, different course activities, and other relevant course information. For my courses, all assignments are due by 11:59 p.m. or midnight on Monday of the corresponding week. So just make sure that you give yourself enough time to submit assignments by Monday. Prior to, I was going to say the only exception to the Monday deadlines are going to be your part 1 of the discussion boards, which I'll speak about in just a little bit. So although currently all the modules are visible to you, please keep in mind that we're going to start our week on Tuesdays, since Monday night is when your assignments are due. So on Tuesdays, you'll find a new recording from me in your weekly learning module to help you understand that week's content. Although it is certainly up to you whether you'd like to listen to my recording or not, I do encourage that you do, because although my recordings may be lengthy, about an hour or so long, it does provide me with an opportunity to share with you all of the related information about that particular PowerPoint or that week's lecture that I would like to share with you. In your weekly learning modules, you will also find a quiz for many weeks. There's not a quiz for every week, but there are a total of 11 quizzes. So if there is a quiz due in a particular week, you will find it in your weekly learning modules. And these quizzes will promptly close on Mondays at 11:59 p.m. I will not make any exceptions regarding quiz availability. In the event that you miss a quiz or perform poorly on it, your one lowest quiz grade will be dropped at the end of the semester. So out of the 11 total quizzes, the top 10 will be considered for your overall quiz grade. So, in terms of your course requirements, I expect that you will access and follow all course instructions found in your weekly content area. You will complete the assigned online exams. You will complete and submit assignments electronically using Blackboard. I will not accept any assignments via email. And you will complete your final semester project in accordance with the instructions given in the syllabus um, and in this particular recording. The next section covers academic honesty and integrity. Guys, I am pretty serious about academic integrity and honesty. Please do not plagiarize. This class actually gives you very limited options to plagiarize. You have weekly quizzes, which I'll talk about in just a little bit. Those will not give you an option to plagiarize, and I'll mention why in just a second. The only option that may be tempting for you might be the final paper that you have to submit to me. But please keep in mind that if I find the slightest indication of plagiarism in your paper for the final, which is worth about a third of your grade, I will give you a 0 for that particular assignment, or possibly even a 0 for the entire course, depending on the extent of your plagiarism. So please don't risk it. It's not worth your master's career. It's not worth the time and money you invest in this course. If you find that you need to refamiliarize yourself with APA, then I would suggest getting the APA manual or checking Purdue OWL online and bookmarking that website. That website helped me through my master's program, through my doctoral program, because everything APA related in terms of citation is listed very well there. So please, please, please do not plagiarize in this course. So now let's get to the fun part. We're going to talk about course requirements. I've mentioned the quizzes to you before. You're going to have a total of 11 quizzes in multiple choice format. There are going to be varying points per question. Each question is weighted differently. You only, at the end of the semester, your final quiz grade will comprise only your top 10 quizzes. Or if you forgot to take a quiz, then it would just take the 10 quizzes that you have taken. You will usually have about 1 hour to complete each quiz. So this means that once you log in, you'll have that full hour to complete the quiz, which I believe you will need. Quizzes will be available all week, but I do encourage that you take them towards the end of the week after you have had a chance to complete your readings and your PowerPoint information, and you've had a chance to listen to my lecture recording. There's only one attempt allowed per quiz, and there are no makeup quizzes. So here's an important note about the quiz. All quizzes will be open book and open note. The content that I am going to present in this course, guys, is not information that I expect you to memorize. No one should expect you to memorize every single diagnosis in the DSM. However, you need to have very good working familiarity with the DSM. The DSM is pretty much like a dictionary. You would not memorize every word in a dictionary, but you do need to figure out how to look up words in the dictionary, much like you need to do with the DSM. So for the quizzes, you can use your books, you can use your notes, you can also consult with your colleagues in the course. As a matter of fact, I actually encourage you to find a partner in the course with whom you can work on the quizzes throughout the semester. You can choose to work with one other person, and that could be the same person you work with all through the semester, or you can work on a quiz with one person and then maybe change your mind and work with somebody else later. Entirely up to you. You could even work with 2 other people if you would like. Actually, you know what? You could all work together as a class in the quizzes. It does not bother me. As long as, and I request this very humbly, I hope that you take the time to truly understand why the correct answer is correct. This also means taking the time to understand why the wrong answers are wrong. So don't just work together to just get a full credit on the quiz. Please work together so you can truly understand what the questions are asking for and why the correct answers are correct. Because this is important for you to learn how to consult with peers when you're in doubt about clinical diagnoses. Okay, so that's just your note about the quiz. You can choose to work with people. You can also choose not to work with people, although I would encourage you to work with people, probably because you're going to need to, because the quizzes are they're kind of involved. So having some help is going to be very helpful. Okay, with that being said, the next assignment here is your special topic paper, which is also worth 100 points. For this paper, you will choose a general topic which is covered by the course. So for example, a diagnosis such as depression, PTSD, anxiety, etc. And within that topic, I'd like you to select a current theory, controversy, or research method not covered in detail by the course. So in essence, you're going to fill the gaps in between the literature out there and what's missing in this course. So you're going to go to do a literature review. You're going to find at least 3 recent, and by recent I mean within the past 5 years, 3 recent peer-reviewed journal articles in which data are presented and discussed, and you will then write a critical review, maximum of 4 pages, double spaced. So it could be about 3 to 4 pages at most, using the information that you obtained from your APA format articles. Here's an important note about this assignment. Please be sure to discuss your special topic ideas with me before you begin. Okay, because I want to make sure that your topic is specific and feasible enough to write, to make the paper writing go smoothly. You will need to get your topic approved by October 31st, and your paper will be due by December 4th. Since this paper is meant to be an indicator of your solo effort, not group effort, not plagiarized effort, any evidence that I do find of plagiarism will not be tolerated at all. And the paper will be in APA format. Here's the third assignment that we're going to have in this course, and that would be your case discussion, which is also, case discussions will be a total of 100 points for this class. Sorry guys, as you can, well, you probably cannot tell, but it's kind of late in the night as I'm recording this, so I apologize that my brain is sometimes not quite giving me the right words, but I'm good, I'm back. Okay, so you're going to have a total of 10 cases with 2 discussions per case at 5 points each. So here's what will happen. For 10 of the weeks out of this 16-week semester, you will be required to post your comments regarding a case study which is located in the DSM Clinical Studies Manual, which is on Blackboard. You would refer to the course schedule for the syllabus, for the cases and the dates, and then you will discuss your impressions based on the DSM-5 to give me a differential diagnosis. So here's what you're going to do. You're going to read through that particular case study, and FYI guys, some weeks you have the option to choose between 2 case studies. You pick which one you want to work on, and that's the one you'll work on for that week. Some weeks you do not have a choice. You have to work on the case study that's been presented to you. But once you read through the case study, you are going to list out the symptoms that you've picked up on, and then provide me an argument on Blackboard, or not argument, a reasoning for why you feel particular diagnosis would apply to it based on those symptoms, or why you think other diagnoses would not apply based on those symptoms. The process of differential diagnosis requires that you narrow down your options to at least 2 to 3 different diagnoses, and then engage in a critical analysis of the symptoms to see which diagnosis fits the symptoms the best. So don't just give me one diagnosis and say this is it. You have to also show me why a similar diagnosis did not fit. In other words, if it's a case study about PTSD, you may say this person most likely has PTSD because the symptoms fit the time requirement for PTSD, but they do not fit the time requirement for, say, acute stress disorder. You would say the symptoms fit the hypervigilance of PTSD, but they do not fit the anxiety of generalized anxiety disorder, whatever the different disorders might be. So make sure that you compare and contrast at least 3 different diagnoses in your differential diagnosis, and then tell me what you believe is the primary diagnosis for that person based on that reasoning. So like I said, you will post part 1, which requires that you post a thoughtful response to your case study. You will need to post an original response before you'll be able to view the responses of your classmates. Okay? There's an example for how to engage in part 1 in your syllabus. Part 1 is always going to be due on Thursday at midnight. Okay, so as soon as you make your post for part 1, that's when other students' posts will become visible to you. And then you engage in part 2 of the discussion, which is going to require that you reply to one of your peers within the case study discussion board. Okay, and during this part 2, you get to follow the devil's advocate prompt. Okay, you get to thoroughly read one of your classmates' original response, and each time consider the following questions. Exactly just how accurate are the statements my peer is making? Is enough evidence documented for a sound decision diagnosis? And regardless of whether or not you agree with your peer's impressions, respectfully pose a counter argument against either his or her choice of diagnoses, choice of evidence as support for the diagnoses, or both. Okay? So you just get to make them think a bit more, like, are you really right, or could it be something else? So this part 2 is going to be due by Monday at midnight. So again, as a reminder, part 1 will be due on Thursday by midnight. When you post part 1, you get to see everybody else's post, and then you choose one person's post to read through, and you comment on their post using the devil's advocate prompt presented in the syllabus. And that will be due by Monday. So there are going to be 10 discussion boards this semester for these particular case studies. There is a discussion board rubric presented in your syllabus, which I would encourage you to look through so you know what I'm looking for in terms of critical thinking, connections, uniqueness of your response, the timeliness of it, and the stylistic requirements that I'm looking for. So those 3 assignments make up all of your assignments for the semester. In other words, once you've done your quizzes and you've done your discussion boards and you've done your final paper, that is it. There are no midterm, there are no final exams here. So hopefully that's a bit exciting. So the grading scale is fairly simple. The total number of points possible is 300. If you make anywhere from 270 to 300 points, you get an A. If you make between 240 to 269, it's a B. Anything below, you'd need to retake the course. Okay. All right, the next part of the syllabus talks about course evaluations, which all of you are familiar with. Since this is the first time this course is being offered by our department, I would really appreciate any feedback that you guys could share with me either during the end of the semester spot evaluations, or if you feel comfortable, you are welcome to give me feedback about the course directly as well by the end of the semester. The rest of the syllabus contains some other scholarly expectations, copyright notice, UNT policies, technical requirement, assistance, resources, and then finally the very last part of the syllabus has your course schedule at a glance. This course schedule is also replicated on the home page of the course on Blackboard. So if you look through your course schedule, there are 6 columns in there, so you can look at week 1, see the date when week 1 begins. You'll see the topic that we'll be covering that week. You'll see the readings in all of your books, including the Kilgis book, the Sinacola book, and the DSM, which I understand are a lot of readings, guys, but like I said, this course is definitely going to require that you engage in all of those readings. And then you will see any assignments that are due, and those are mainly going to be your discussion boards. So if you're looking at your course content right now, you'll see that week 1, 2, and 3, there are no discussion boards. Your first discussion board is introduced in week 4. And this is one where you have a choice because there are 2 case studies. There's a case study of a young man who's scared to leave his house, or you can do the case study of the wreck of a pretty strong man. Part 1 will be due on Thursdays and part 2 will be due on Monday by midnight. You can also see in the final column that the quizzes are listed there. So the first week we have no quiz, yay. The second week you'll have your first quiz. In the third week there's no quiz. The fourth week you have your second quiz. So although once we're in week 4, things are going to be running pretty smoothly where you'll have a discussion board and a quiz every week. But until then, just keep tabs on when things are due, so you can keep up with the course assignments. And so that, I was going to say my friends, which, sorry guys, you're not my friends, but that, dear students, is where our syllabus takes us. I am going to stop this recording now, but if you have any questions about the syllabus, you're welcome to email me at rachita.sharma@unt.edu. Just make sure that you let me know you're talking about RHAB 5734, the psychopathology course, so I know which course you're referring to. The next recording that I upload to this week's folder will have a lecture about this week's content. So other than that, I'm going to wrap it up. I'm very excited to have you guys in this course. I know many of you are already working with clients, engaging in mental health work. So having this good working knowledge of psychopathology is definitely going to help you learn what symptoms to ask for and how to diagnose or how to engage in a good diagnostic decision about what applies and what does not apply. So with that being said, bye for now.